This video is about the Bucyrus Erie Model 22B. This is a 3/4 yard machine that was produced from 1937 to 1976. They produced 8,828 of these machines, and when combined with 10,245 that were produced by Ruston Bucyrus, over 19,000 of these machines were produced, making it possibly the most popular cable excavator of all time. The weight on these machines ranged from 40,000 to 50,000 pounds, depending on the type of boom and counterweight configuration. They were available with gasoline, diesel, and electric engines in them. This one has a Detroit diesel 371 that's rated at about 77 horsepower. This machine has a 45-foot boom, and right now it has an Owen digging clamshell on it, and it also has 36-inch crawler tracks on it, which add about 2 tons to the weight of the machine. This machine weighs approximately 46,000 pounds. This machine is one of 4 originally purchased by the Chrisman Sand Company of Chrisman, Indiana. Chrisman was one of 3 small communities that now make up the city of Portage, Indiana. Sometime in the late 90s, Johnson Excavating of Valparaiso purchased 2 of these machines and rebuilt it in the machine you see here. This machine is in pretty good shape. I purchased it in 2010. I did repaint on it and just some minor maintenance work. Now let's climb up in the house and I'll explain how the controls on this machine function and how it operates. Now here's a look at the 371 Detroit. One of the nice things about it, it's a rather compact motor. Leaves room for a walkway all the way through the house. Some of the larger motors came all the way across. Radiator was right there up against the outside wall, and there was not a walkway all the way through. Now in the back here is a small control panel, and it's got your basic gauges on it: the voltmeter, water temperature, oil pressure. Right underneath that panel is a starter button. And the reason there's a starter button back there is in case you have to give it a shot of ether, you can stand here in the back, hit the starter button. You can easily spray towards the air cleaner, which is on the far side of the house there, which you would not be able to do from the operator's seat. I'll give you a quick rundown of the controls, and then we'll go back and explain what they all do. This first one here on the outside is the power boom hoist. This one down in front is the brake lock for the 2 brake pedals. This is your rear drum or hoist. This is your front drum. It would be the drag on a drag machine. It is the closing line as this machine is currently set up. This is your swing and propel lever. This lever down front is the main clutch. This is your house lock, your steering lever. This is your boom lock. We have the starter button down here, throttle. This is the selector for propelling or swinging the machine, and this is the lock for the crawlers. Also down on the floor there you can see a foot pedal that says high-low on it for propelling the machine in a higher gear. Now, as I explained in the 10B video, these machines mostly operate just through gravity. And I'm going to explain the controls on this as it's currently set up. It is currently set up in dragline operation. There is a way to reverse the function of these 2 levers for the 2 drums that will allow you high-speed clamshell operation I've never had it set up that way. If I was concerned about digging at a faster pace, if I was using the machine to make money, then I would certainly set it up that way, but I will explain it as it is currently set up. And let's start with the controls here. This is the power boom control right here. The boom on this machine is raised and lowered both under power, which is an advantage over a machine like the 10B. When you lower the boom, it is geared directly to the engine, so the boom will not lower too fast for you that way. The compression of the engine will start to catch it and prevent it from coming down at high speed. This here in front is the lock for the two brake pedals. The two brake pedals lock the drums, and you would use that if you were propelling the machine, wanted to keep the bucket in a raised position. You could raise the bucket, you can press down on the pedals, that'll lock the drums, pull up on that lever, it keeps the drums in a locked position. You do not have to stand on the pedals that way while you're propelling the machine. Now I'm going to explain these levers as the machine is set up. It's not as simple as having one lever to open and close the bucket and another lever to raise and lower the bucket. Cable excavators rarely operate that simply. This middle lever is referred to as the closing lever on this machine, and it operates the front drum. When you push this lever forward, it starts to close the bucket, and that's the only real digging power the machine has, other than the weight of the bucket itself on the ground, would be the closing effort of the bucket. When the bucket is completely closed and you continue to push on that lever, it continues to draw in cable, so it has no other choice than to start to raise the bucket. When you would get the bucket to the desired height, of course, you would pull back on the lever and you would step on the corresponding brake pedal and it would be held in position. Now, the other line is referred to on the clamshell as the holding line. And the trick to it is as the bucket is raised with the closing line, you have to keep the slack out of the holding line. Because in order to dump the bucket, you simply let off on this brake pedal for the closing drum. When you do that, if the other line, referred to as the holding line, is not tight, the bucket will start to drop until there's no more slack in that. So you keep that cable tight as you're raising the bucket, the closed bucket, with this middle lever. You have to feather the clutch on the rear drum to keep that cable tight. When you get it into the raised position, you would step on both pedals. You'd swing the machine to where you want to dump it. You would release the pedal for the closing line, and that would open the bucket and allow the bucket to remain in the air. Then to lower the bucket, you would let off the pedal for the holding line. Now there's an easier way to do this. For high-speed operation, you can reverse the function of these two levers, and the closing line becomes this right lever and the holding line becomes the middle lever. There's a spring under the floor that you adjust that allows you to only have to use the closing line. As you would close the bucket and raise it with this lever, it would allow this clutch to slip and keep the slack out of the other line. That way, when you got the bucket into the raised position, both lines would be tight. You would simply step on both pedals, and when you had the bucket in position for dumping, you would just let off the brake for the closing line. Like I said, that is not how the machine is set up, and if I were concerned with high-speed operation, I would certainly set it up that way. This line here, lever here, is for swinging the machine left or right, depending on how you have this selector lever set. In the rear position, it's for swinging. In the middle, it's neutral, and in the front, it's for propelling. You cannot swing and propel this machine at the same time. You can only do one function or the other. And when propelling this machine, this lever right here is for the house lock. This locks the machine, prevents it from swinging. You would want to have the machine locked before you start propelling it. It will spin quite easily when you are propelling it if you do not have that locked. The only way to stop it from doing so would be to reach down and grab this lever, which you could break the locking mechanism, or you could possibly drop the bucket to the ground to stop it from swinging. This lever here is your main clutch, as I explained on the 10B. When the motor is running, it is not attached to any of the machinery. When you pull back on this lever, it engages the main clutch, and it starts the two shafts here that these drums are mounted on. It starts them spinning, and it connects the Detroit diesel in this machine to the rest of the machinery. This is your steering lever right here. Now, on this machine, in order to steer it, you have to stop it. You stop it, and you either push forward or pull back on this lever, and there's a set of jaw clutches underneath the machine that would release power from the left or the right track. And if you continue to pull on it, it engages a locking pin, and then it locks that track. And so in order to steer this machine, you have to stop it, you have to pivot in one place, and you have to release this lever, and then you can go about propelling again. This knob down front here, this is for the boom lock. That is just a locking mechanism to keep your boom from creeping either up or down. This lever right here is for the crawlers. In the rear position, the machine can travel either direction. In the forward position, it locks the crawlers from going either direction, which prevents you from moving the machine. It prevents the bucket, whether it be a drag line or the backhoe or any other bucket on the front, from pulling the machine towards the work. It has another position which locks the crawlers for one movement only. The proper way to dig this with this machine with the shovel front is with the drive sprockets to the rear. And so as you're digging with the shovel, it's trying to push the machine backwards. This lever in the middle position would prevent the machine from moving backwards. It's just the opposite with a drag line or with the backhoe. You would want the sprockets towards the front, because with the drag line and the backhoe attachments, it's wanting to pull the machine towards the bucket. So you would have the sprockets towards the front, and it would prevent the machine from moving in that direction. And our last lever we have here is our throttle. And that about sums it up. I hope I've done a good job of explaining how this machine operates. The method of operation with the clamshell is not as simple as it might seem, but it's also not really that complex. And I would just like to thank everybody for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it.